Angry Birds Epic is a game known for its abundance of classes, which can be used to inflict status effects and deal major amounts of damage. Would it be possible to beat the game with the most basic classes in the game? In this video, that is exactly what I aim to do. Beat Angry Birds Epic using only the starter classes. There are only two rules. You cannot use any non-starter class in battle, and potions are allowed, but Mighty Eagles are banned. With that being said, let's get started with the challenge. On our journey to get the first egg, we first unlock Red. Red is a tank, and for this challenge, he'll be donning the Knight Hat. Now, the Knight class deals a single hit to an enemy, making them target you for the next 3 turns. The other ability grants one ally a shield for 2 turns. He isn't the best class, but it'll do us well for the challenge. After killing a few more enemies in a cave, we run into a locked Chuck, guarded by a few random pigs. We then exclusively target Chuck's cage until we finally break him free, killing the rest of the enemies in the process, and just like that, we've unlocked Chuck. Chuck is a magic user, shown by his use of the Mage class. The Mage has yet another basic Thunderbolt attack to all enemies, with a secondary ability of giving one ally a shock shield. As a class, his lackluster health makes him weak, but his chilly ability carries him to the top. His rage attack is the Speed of Light, which pretty much gives your allies a free 5 attacks in a single turn, which is overpowered. After duoing Red and Chuck up the plains, we eventually reach Castle 1. As the first castle in the game, it serves as more of a tutorial rather than an actual challenge. The first few phases aren't really difficult, only having to deal with the Fire Pig as the last wave. However, that's when you fight Prince Porky. Boosted by Wizpig, Prince Porky deals a decent amount of damage, bolstered by the damage cap, a really annoying passive ability against my current roster. Luckily, with the help of Chuck's rage ability and potions, we're able to turn Porky into a well-balanced breakfast, and with that, the first egg is acquired. Right after, we encounter a class shop. Unfortunately, we are forced to buy the Guardian class for Red, because the game really doesn't want us to play the entire game with the starter classes. Unluckily for them, that's exactly what I aim to do. I unequip the new hat and continue battling as Knight Red. A few battles later, we are faced against fighting a Corporal Pig to save Matilda's garden. This would be a normal mini-boss battle, and I would normally be able to complete it with ease. However, this battle expects you to use the new classes, which means the pig has one of the most broken status effects in the game. That effect is a 75% chance for attacks to miss their target. By proxy, that means that I'm effectively dealing 1/4 of the damage I'll normally deal. This clip is fast-forwarded, but believe me when I say it took me over 5 minutes to beat this single enemy. Even Chuck's rage ability wouldn't work against this pig, but after a lot of time and 15 potions, I finally beat the Corporal, and right after that, I unlocked Matilda. Unlocking Matilda changed my game plan. She is the healer of Angry Birds Epic, being that she can heal herself and other birds. This meant that I didn't have to rely on potions every turn, and it gave me an extremely viable bird for my roster. Matilda's Cleric deals a decent amount of damage per hit, giving all allies a 25% heal of the damage dealt. Her secondary ability gives all allies a regen shield for 3 turns, and the icing on the cake, Matilda's rage ability heals all birds for 30% of their max HP. Needless to say, I proceed to destroy all of the pigs over the next few levels. Matilda's healing easily outdid any damage pigs could do to me, and combining her ability with Chuck's rage ability easily regen my birds by a decent amount of health. Almost right after, I unlocked Bomb. Bomb is a berserker, a melee class of sorts. He boosts all birds and damaging stats and packs a punch, but doesn't do much more than that. His rage ability isn't impressive either, honestly just a more powerful Chuck attack. This means that we won't use Bomb that much during the playthrough, although you could see some use in more niche circumstances. At the same time, we unlock the Pirate Ship. The Pirate Ship allows us to travel on seas, which also unlocks an entirely new section of the map for us to explore. Sea battles make us fight pirates and brutes, which all have a passive ability of being immune to status effects. Luckily for us, our challenge made me use birds that don't dish out status effects, or maybe unluckily, so the enemies were pushovers. Prince Porky then tries to flex on us with his yellow key, which is the only way to get into the desert area. As all hope is lost, the Blues then pop up in their own boat and steal the yellow keys for themselves. As Porky and his gang try to converge upon the Blues in a sea battle, the main priority switches to saving the Blues and unlocking the Golden Gate. After killing Prince Porky yet again for the 50th time, we unlock the Blues, the final bird in a roster of Angry Birds epic characters. The Blues use the Tricksters, which is arguably the best starter class in our disposal. The Tricksters deal a basic hit to the enemies, but it also removes all status conditions from them. Overpowered. Their second ability also removes all negative status effects from all allies, and gives them all a 15% boost in attack power. Yeah, Bomb just became useless. At the same time, we unlock the Gold Door, which grants us access to the desert section of the game. We are quickly introduced to the undead pigs, which aren't an issue thanks to the Blues. However, they will become an issue later, but we'll get to that another time. We then proceed to enter the second castle to receive the second egg. Unfortunately, most of my footage for the second castle corrupted. I really only got a recording of the first and last phases, without the cutscenes. So, in short, the castle wasn't difficult, and Prince Porky was defeated yet again. And with that, we got the second egg. On our hunt for the third egg, Wizpig himself decides to take the matter into his own hands and moves his castle to Starfish Reef, and then decides to camp there. To catch up with him, we go up into the forest and are greeted by some new classes. At this point, the game expects us to use classes that dish out status effects, hence the Rogues and the Rainbird being for sale, and even though those classes are amazing, I have to turn them down to continue with the challenge. In the next battle, we're introduced to the Pygmies, who start to give birds negative status effects of their own. The Wooden Mask Pygmies, for example, prevent a bird from using their Rage ability for 3 turns. Now, this normally would be a problem if it weren't for the Tricksters, who specialize in getting rid of negative effects. We then kill all the enemies, and with that, we continue on. After killing those pigs, we face off against Stanley. Stanley deals a massive amount of damage, while healing from 50% of the damage dealt. Matilda wouldn't be too useful here, as her healing wouldn't be enough, so I switched to Bomb for the extra attack power. The main game plan is to make Stanley target red while dishing out hits from the Blues and Bomb, while using potions to heal. Although I do get close to dying a couple times, I use the power of luck to get multiple stuns in a row, thanks Red, defeating Stanley once and for all. That's when I realized that I would be underprepared for the Wizpig fight. If I had trouble with a mini-boss, how could I defeat all the enemies to come? My solution? Grinding. By going to an early game level, you could farm pigs there for resources. Of course, it was all up to RNG, but considering how limited I was with my classes, it was the most viable strategy I had. After repeating the same cycle of doing early game levels about 50 times, I could finally obtain everything I would need for the rest of the quest. I bought a potion upgrade, and then proceeded to forge some new items for my birds. Unluckily for me, the game wasn't feeling generous, and I wasted all my friendship hearts to get a 3-star weapon for Matilda. Oops. Either way, with my new gear I proceeded to shred through phase after phase of pigs, and quickly got through multiple levels without facing a serious threat. That is, until we got to the witch fight. The witch deals a multi-hit every turn, almost killing Matilda on the first turn of the game. Yet again, Matilda couldn't heal me enough to use her in this fight, so I switched to Chuck. Chuck's shock shield reflects damage back at the enemy during every hit, which is crucial for this fight. With this new strategy, we defeat the witch and proceed onwards. Right after, Wizpig decides to do a little amount of trolling and blocks the path into the bamboo woods. Of course, that path isn't too useful at the moment, considering we're trying to get to Starfish Reef in the first place. But, as a counter, Wizpig then decides to spawn in a Howler Ghost from a portal, and goes back into his castle to camp even more. The Howler Ghost is the first major undead enemy in the game, other than the desert, and he poses a serious threat to our roster. His secondary ability spawns in more ghosts, which all have the ability to respawn back to full health after 2 turns of being knocked out. Bomb is the most useful option here, as his rage ability can knock out all the ghosts at once, neutralizing the threat of them reviving one by one. With the help of the Blue's cleansing effect and Bomb's chilly ability, the Howler is defeated and we can continue on. Of course, with how difficult the fights have become, I decided to upgrade my gear yet again, and after even more early game battles, I upgrade this weapon, and this shield, and this weapon, and so on and so forth. As usual, we shred through the next few stages, and especially Chuck carries all the battles in this section of the game, due to the speed of light ability. Being the troller he is, Wizpig decides to block the main entrance to Starfish Reef when you arrive there, preventing us from entering the castle. We're forced to go around Starfish Reef to try and get into the castle via the other route. On the way, we also learn the ability to enhance items. Enhancing items is a way to increase your damage and health without having to forge new items, at the cost of resources. Although it isn't too useful at the moment, it'll get more and more important as the game progresses. After a while, we reach the other side of the cove, and Wizpig yet again tries to outsmart us by blocking that entrance. Luckily for us, Red realizes that Wizpig left the first entrance unprotected, and we finally reach Wizpig's castle, the stronghold of the third egg. The first two phases of the castle aren't difficult. We just fight some normal fire and stick pigs, and my birds defeat them all easily. The real challenge starts on the fourth wave, where we encounter a necromancer and some undead enemies. The Howler, in tandem with the necromancer, quickly drains my bird's health, but with the power of Red's rage ability and the blue's cleansing effect, I can barely defeat them all. On the next stage, we encounter Wizpig, the big bad himself, with all of his healing abilities and power-up effects. Naturally, he has a passive ability that decreases our healing, and he heals from all the damage he takes. He also has an attack boost effect, which increases his power even more. The main strategy is to use Matilda for healing, Red for shielding, and the blues to stun Wizpig with their rage ability. This tactic works out until we get Wizpig down to a sliver of health. My birds have gotten him down to 150 HP. Red is the only bird left with a turn, and he deals 115 damage normally. My only option is to attack Wizpig and hope I stun him or get a critical hit. I go for the offensive, and I fail. Wizpig then proceeds to attack my entire lineup with his Black Storm ability, almost killing us all, and healing himself for almost 25% of his max HP. I turn to the more defensive strategy after that, using more Red Shield to block damage and preventing Wizpig from healing as much. Comparatively, this tactic is successful, and quickly we are finally able to defeat Wizpig and obtain a third egg. Of course, there are still 2 eggs left. Wizpig quickly retreats into the Force Castle, deep into the mountains, but in the process drops the blue key, allowing us to keep on his tail. And with that, this video is over. Make sure to subscribe or something along those lines. Part 2 is coming out sometime, and I guess I'll see you later.